Welcome back to another edition of Cover One, the Film Room. I'm your host, Erik Turner, and this week, Nate Geary is filling in for Howard Simon in the morning show at WGR. So we stole one of his compadres from the radio station, Mr. Sal Capaccio. Sal, thanks for joining me this week. I'm excited to break down some film with you, brother.
Yeah, it was all part of my master plan. I wanted to get in here with you, so I told Nate to go into the morning show and fill in for Howard. It's great to be with you. I know we've tried to do this before. Schedules haven't matched, so I'm super excited about it.
Yeah, I know it was last second, and I'm glad to have you on, and I want to get your overall thoughts because it's going to be interesting to hear your thoughts, being obviously on the sideline and talking to the players in the locker room and whatnot after the game. I want to get your thoughts on Josh Allen and his game versus the Redskins.
Well, I thought he was efficient. I write a column called Arrow Up, Arrow Down after every game, and I gave Josh's efficiency an arrow up. Not him particularly, but his efficiency. I thought he played a fine game. He wasn't spectacular by any means. But he played a good game. He did exactly what they asked him to do as far as the offense. His numbers weren't great because he didn't have an opportunity to put up great numbers. He threw the ball only 20 times. But when you dig in deeper, Erik, he threw for 8 yards an attempt. His yards per attempt was 8 yards. That's the second best he's had all season.
Yes.
That's a good number for an NFL player.
Yeah, totally.
I liked what he did. I think he was more of a game manager, but I think the opponent dictated that, the score dictated that, the weather dictated that. I understand a lot of people want more, but I thought he played a fine game.
Yeah, we're looking at some of the numbers from Pro Football Focus. 14 for 20, 160 yards, 1 touchdown. A lot of the ratings from Pro Football Focus have him, rated rather well. He was only blitzed 7 times out of 23 dropbacks. And I'm with you. I thought he played an efficient game. I thought some of the play calling, especially early, of getting Singletary involved with that screen game, some of those touch passes to McKenzie on, that jet action. I thought there was a very good top to bottom game plan to make, Josh Allen more of a game manager. But I think that overall, when the offense does that, the Bills win games. And I think that, a lot of people are worried that maybe they're stunting his growth. I don't think that's the case at all. I think they're teaching him and harnessing his skills so that they can win while also developing him, because those turnovers for most of this year have been, big plays against the offense and really stunted the growth as an offense for most of this year. So I thought overall, like you said, it was very efficient. They tried a couple deep shots down the field, as you can see on here. He wasn't totally successful on all of them, but the ones that he did hit, they were very high percentage one-on-one type passes to guys on the field. So with that said, Sal, let's go ahead and jump right into the film, because we do have, I think, 6 or 7 plays that I want to take a look at. Some good, some bad. From his Week 9 matchup versus the Redskins. All right, Sal, early in the first quarter, 3rd and 3, ball on the 47-yard line. Obviously, third down situation. Bills are in a 3-by-1 set, but they motion Beasley across the formation into a 2-by-2 set. And you'll see as the ball snapped, the Bills run a little high-low concept to the top of the screen, and then McKenzie is that third option coming across the middle, and then the final fourth option is John Brown and a deep dig. But the reason why this breaks down to a high-low into the boundary is because as the ball snapped, the Redskins send a creeper pressure, which is this linebacker blitzing, still a 4-man pressure. And so the safety comes down and becomes the flats defender here. And that's why with a single high set, you see Knox break into the corner here. But there is a blown coverage here. If you look closely, you see the safety in that corner blow the coverage here. So it does appear that the tight end screaming down towards the boundary is wide open. But as I said, this is a third down play. So Allen is trying to work the sticks to Beasley. He's trying to work low to high, right, Sal? So he immediately moves on after that because, there's a big cluster right here. He's not sure the way it's going to develop, but if he doesn't move on in his progression, he's going to miss McKenzie over the middle. But it's a good job, I think, of obviously coming off that initial read and trusting his protection with Singletary coming across here, and you'll see it better from the end zone angle, and finally hitting McKenzie in that hole in between the two linebackers. So, Sal, give me your thoughts on this play. I know a lot of fans on Twitter probably look at this and say, oh, he missed a guy deep. So what are your thoughts on this play?
Well, he didn't necessarily miss him because he wasn't looking at him. He's not expecting the safety to come down there. In fact, I think that he's expecting Dawson Knox to drive that safety back to keep him out of the play. But the safety blew the coverage. But his first read, because he's expecting Dawson Knox to drive the safety back, he's looking at Isaiah McKenzie. What I want to focus on is that linebacker in front of Isaiah McKenzie. I think that Josh Allen is seeing that his back is turned, and Isaiah, that's right, and Isaiah can just, get in between those guys. And the reason why his back is turned, he has to fill for the creeper. He has to fill for that blitzing linebacker. And once Josh basically sees, watch 53 here on your left, okay? Once he flows there, that allows Isaiah McKenzie to climb up his back, and Josh sees that. So Josh's eyes right there, great job stopping that. What we do is, in football, you teach a quarterback to put a defender in conflict. He sees that 53 is in conflict. 53 has to decide right now, is he going to stop in that curl route, or is he going to keep going? And because his back is turned, Isaiah McKenzie, boom, has an opening right there. Josh sees he has a window to fit it there. So I think that the blitz actually wound up hurting the Redskins here because they forced another linebacker to go to that spot, which allowed Isaiah McKenzie to climb into that area.
Yeah, that's a great point, because these creeper pressures they're also called replacement pressures. Well, traditionally a creeper pressure is sending a linebacker or a position from a non-traditional pass rushing standpoint, linebackers, safeties, corners, and they're replacing a rusher on the defensive line and having a guy jump into coverage, which you'll see Kerrigan jump in here. So it's a normal cover 3 creeper pressure that linebackers replacing one of the rushers up front. And as you said, that means that the linebacker has to replace that linebacker hook the curl area. And a great point about that replace. I really like that you pointed that out. I mentioned Singletary, with a great blitz pickup here. He comes across the formation, attacks the linebacker, gets his pads low, and does a good job of unfurling those hips, getting those hands inside. I mean, this is really a textbook type block from a guy that a lot of people worried about at the beginning of the year as far as blocking goes, right, Sal?
Yeah, no doubt about it. I think that there was a lot of questions on if he could stay on the field for all 3 downs. We've seen that now. He's been getting a lot of snaps. He's finally getting the ball, but he's actually been on the field a lot, even since week 1, and he's been on the field for a lot of pass protection plays. But while he's out there, he's also a threat, so they have to account for him. And now you're maybe making a linebacker kind of hesitate a little bit, but now he sees Singletary there. He attacks. Josh Allen feels comfortable. I think that's an important part here, Erik, where
Totally.
Allen feels comfortable right here, right? He sees that he has a pocket that he can kind of work with and manipulate. I love his feet. Watch his feet action. Boom, sets up, resets, and then throws it to McKenzie there.
Yeah, that's a great point, because initially you see him, he's looking left immediately, and he's setting out wide. You can see his footwork setting to throw to the sticks at Beasley. Obviously, he comes off of that, and he knows there's a blitzer coming right into his face, and he doesn't panic, right? He trusts that Singletary is going to pick that up, gets his feet right, gets to that third option, and the placement on this ball. Talk about the placement, because as you said, he could easily have thrown this guy into a hospital ball, really, yep. Right? I mean, this is good placement on the back shoulder, right, Sal?
No doubt about it. Look, I mean, really, and even so, and I'll say this, he might even have expected McKenzie just kind of sit a little bit there, you know what I mean? So and then it doesn't become more back shoulder, but you're right,
Sure.
He is there. He's not throwing it in front of him, because if he does, he's going to get lit up. I mean, that's what's going to happen on that play. So that's a great ball placement. He threw it right to the right window there. And again, I think Josh saw, and I think it's a really good sign that he can see that linebacker with his back and his shoulder turn, and he knows he has to fire that ball in there before he can turn his shoulders back the other way.
Yeah, great point. A great point about McKenzie. And that is, something that I do wonder about, after watching this film is, typically your receiver is going to sit right in that hole. I'm not sure if McKenzie was supposed to. I assume that he was supposed to, but either way, processing on the fly, right?
Look at that passing lane he has to throw to, Erik. Yeah. I mean, look at that. That is really good. That's a great job by Quentin Spain to come over and wash down, too. I mean, they gave him a really nice lane to throw to.
I thought they had a great game overall as an offensive unit in the run game and in the passing game. All right, Sal. So we're towards the end of the first quarter. It's 7-0. Buffalo is up. It's a 3rd and long situation, 3rd and 10, ball on the 27-yard line. And it's something that the Bills have done all season. Is when it's 3rd and long, they're going to use an extended cadence. So you'll see Josh get up to the line of scrimmage, and he'll try to draw the defense off sides. And what Mitch Morse is taught to do is, if for some reason someone jumps or he thinks someone's offside, he's going to snap it. And Allen does think that he gets the defense off sides here, but it is not called. But it's an isolation route. After that cadence happens and the ball snapped, you're going to see just Josh Allen hit the top of his drop and just sail it up there for John Brown to make a play. So what are your thoughts on this play? And I mean, have the Bills been, relatively successful doing this extended cadence and drawing teams off? And maybe some things that, you saw or heard at the stadium on this play, because this was a really big play down the field.
Yeah, it's funny because the guy that he thought jumped didn't get called, but I actually think the left defensive end is in the neutral zone. So they could have actually called a penalty there, and he wound up, getting upfield pretty quickly here. Look, I think the key to this play here is Josh Allen's arm strength, pure and simple. He's throwing off his back foot. That's a great shot. You freeze it right there. I mean, he's throwing off his back foot. Now, look, he had the wind going with him here, but he said, I'm going to give my guy a chance, a 50-50 ball. And again, The DB has his back turned over up on the top of the screen, and the safety is a good 15 yards away, maybe 20 yards away. So he knows he's in a good spot. But again, Josh, this is a risky play. Josh thinks he's going to get a penalty on this. If this ball is picked or something like that happens, the Bills are, they're not going to have any recourse there because there was no penalty called. So that's a risky play. But what I love is maybe this teaches Josh Allen to do this more. We've been clamoring for this, right? We've been asking, hey, he needs to take those shots. Aaron Rodgers is so great at it. Just go, just do it. And I think this shows that, hey, maybe when I'm in that situation, I can just throw it up to my guy and he's going to make a play, because we haven't seen that enough. Fans loved it. Once the ball was in the air, you could feel kind of the breath out of the air, like, oh my gosh, they're throwing one deep here. It's not a super deep shot, but then John Brown came down with it. He's so great with his concentration. He's able to come down with it. This was really nice. Now, unfortunately, the Bills did not convert here because this is the sequence where they lost like 20 yards on the next couple of plays. Shows you the importance, though, of getting into the end zone, not just getting down to the 1 or the 2 yard line. Great job by Mitch Morse, like you said. But Josh Allen, I think maybe this will also play into him in the future, Erik, saying, all right, I can do that, and I should take more shots like that.
Yeah, kind of like on the last play, I do want to highlight the communication and understanding in pass protection here, because there's a really nice little twist that the Redskins are going to be running right here for Jonathan Allen. And you're going to see Frank Gore stone it right at the line of scrimmage. You're going to see as that ball snap, him and Spann are working together to secure this A-gap. Gore steps up, and he sees the linebacker penetrating, and then the looper, John Allen, is coming over the top, and it just stoned by Gore there, which obviously gives Allen a chance to throw the ball up to John Brown. Obviously a big play in the end.
So pass protection always starts inside out, and running backs are going to look A gap to B gap, and that's what he's doing. Look where his eyes are. Like, if you go back to watch Frank Gore's eyes. He's looking A gap right away before the snap. Even he's setting up right behind. Look at that. He's looking to the A gap. Now he might not know who's coming there, but he's looking A gap to see. So as soon as he sees a guy flash to an odd color jersey, he's going to go there. So that's how you have to basically pick up the blitz from a running back's standpoint. He did a really good job. Frank Gore has been one of the better blitz protectors at a running back in our generation, really. I mean, he's done this his whole career, but he did a textbook job there of going inside out, looking for his protection.
All right, Sal, the Bills are up 10-3. They're threatening. They're on the 9 yard line, 2nd and 4, 7:34 on the clock in the second quarter. And the Bills come out in heavy personnel, 1 wide receiver set, and it's setting up to look like run, right? You're going to see a run call here, a duo run call, but Josh Allen and John Brown have the option to throw the backside slant on a tag. So a lot of times Josh Allen will get the play in the huddle and a run will be called, but there will be a tag or something on the back end of the play call that will allow those to call an audible or check to a throw here. And that's exactly what happens. But at the top of the drop, it does to me slightly look like maybe Josh Allen sets his footwork up a little too wide. Typically, we talk about setting the hallway properly, and that back right foot, typically the arch of that back right foot is typically where you want to aim towards that target. And as the ball is thrown, you see it's just a little behind him and a little high over the top right shoulder, back shoulder of John Brown, and it goes incomplete. I don't think the mechanics are horrible here, but I mean, you could also say if he completes this and throws this out in front of him, it gets John Brown lit up. But I want you to talk about maybe what John Brown was talking about after the throw here. You can see the safety getting a nice little lick on John Brown.
Yeah, he wanted a helmet to helmet. He wanted a headshot there. I think some people thought he was calling for a pass interference because he got up and did one of those motions like throw the flag, but he was asking, I think, for a helmet to helmet shot right there. He didn't get that. Look, I don't love this call. There's 3 tight ends, by the way. Look at that. They have Lee Smith, Tyler Kroft, and Dawson Knox all in on this play on the right. I don't love this. I would like this play more if that safety was over on the right L, let's say, right? I mean, he's right in the middle of the field. So there's a lot less room there to fit this window, to fit this ball through the window, like you say. And then you have to be so precise. So I don't love this. I would like it a lot more if Josh saw that safety go. And I think that's what it's designed for. That's why you put 3 tight ends there, right? You put 3 tight ends to maybe have that safety shade, maybe just 3-4 yards the other way. Then you can lead John Brown. I think once he saw where John was, he knew he couldn't lead him into the safety. That's why you get not as accurate of a throw. I don't like this decision. By the way, Deion Dawkins maybe could have been called for downfield. We've seen force called for these. I mean, they generally are supposed to be 1 yard. They'll usually allow you about 3 yards before they actually call it, but he's downfield a little bit. I just didn't love the way this play went from the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good argument there. The 3-by-1 set using tight ends in the, the high green area inside the 10-yard line. All it's meant to do is isolate John Brown. But I agree with you, by having those 3 tight ends, and it's man coverage, you're going to have a lot of guys stacked into the line of scrimmage, and the safeties aren't really too worried about, even though there are a couple of good tight ends in this set with, Tyler Kroft and Dawson Knox, but they don't have to worry as much in the pass. But it is meant to just isolate John Brown if they see it. And honestly, usually when this backside tag is called, the only way you're throwing that is if that corner is in soft coverage, and that corner was not in soft coverage. So I don't think Allen should have even tagged it to this or thrown it to the backside slant here. But again, it happens. It's slight mix up in his mechanics. I think he set up a little too wide, set that hallway a little too wide. Just a play that didn't work. You see Josh Allen took it into his hands, and the ball's thrown behind him for the incompletion. All right, so 17-16, Bills are up. It's the third quarter now. It's 1st and 10 with the ball on the 33-yard line. You're going to see Frank Gore motion out to the top of the screen, and you can see that ID's a coverage is zone. And actually, the Redskins checked to 8-man Tampa 2 coverage. So anytime the Bills went to empty, this is usually what happens. So the Bills are actually in 21 personnel. To the bottom of the screen, you're going to have DeMarco, and you'll see the route concept here as the Redskins check into that Tampa 2. And Josh Allen knows what he's going to get here. It's pretty obvious he's decisive in his reads. His eye discipline is really good. You see him take the snap, and he's eyeing that middle linebacker right there, dropping to the deep hole. And the Redskins do a good job of having, 3-on-3 basically down here. Obviously, it's zone coverage, but they're trying to take away that little slot route by Beasley. So it's very decisive. Josh Allen here, and he hits John Brown in the slot to the top of the screen. I like how John Brown throttles in that window, and Allen hits him with a nice strike right on his hands, as you can see there. And that's really important here, right, Sal? Because if Josh Allen leads him out wide just a little bit, that squatting corner and that Tampa 2 look is going to light up John Brown. So the accuracy, the decision-making, and rhythm on this throw is very, very good by Josh Allen and the offense, right, Sal?
Yeah, and he's thrown into an 8-man coverage here. I mean, it's not. There's a lot of maroon jerseys out there.
Yep.
He's got to find the right guy and place it in the right spot, like you said. I just think John Brown is a great route runner. He did a really good job of settling his hips here, turning around. Josh, he doesn't throw it before the break, but it's almost that. It's almost before the break. It's right after he starts his break and he settles his hips. But again, good job there. You highlighted it. Josh is looking. He's making sure that corner doesn't come off. If he comes off a little early, maybe Josh goes up to the top. But even then, that would be a tough one because of the safety there. This is a really, really good play by Josh Allen. A very good throw. One of his better throws of the day. There's the route. Maybe you could check it for John Brown. But, now watch. He sees, again, defender back going the other way. He knows he has maybe less coverage on the right side there. He can come back on that side, look for an open white jersey. It's not that open, but it's open enough. And now let's see when he throws the ball here, because John starts to settle his hips. Josh looks, and he's already releasing it as John Brown is turning his head. I think that's just a great read and a great throw by Josh Allen.
Yeah, and the reason I mentioned the 21 personnel is because now when the Redskins check into this 8-man Tampa 2 coverage, now you have Kerrigan, who is their best pass rusher, dropping into coverage. Yeah. And that's eventually, once Josh gets to that side of the field, if that defender, Kerrigan, right there is just squatting in that hook to curl zone, he and John Brown know, well, this is the void I need to throw it to. I'm going to sit right on those numbers, and it's just a really good throw. And actually, after, if you watch a broadcast copy, that corner that drives on it, I think it is Josh Norman maybe, he tells John Brown and kind of heckles him like, hey, it was good that you sat there because you would have been lit up. I mean, there's some kind of exchange there, so that was kind of interesting. Just a really good play from top to bottom from Josh Allen, the offense, of being on the same page, throwing in rhythm, and recognizing the coverage.
Can I tell you something funny that happened during the game? Josh Norman obviously played for Sean McDermott, right? He knows him really well. Remember when Josh Allen ran and he fumbled again? Luckily, the Bills got it back. Josh Norman actually looked at Sean McDermott, put his finger up to his head, and basically said, like, you got to be smarter than that, or he's got to be smarter than that. He said that. It was kind of funny. It was a funny exchange. They know each other. Here's the other thing I want to point out. Erik, I thought this was such a difference in Josh Allen's footwork. I pointed out once already. He had been stationary the last few weeks. Watch this play from the beginning. Moves his feet, manipulates. Look at, he's moving around. He's shuffling. Like, I love the fact that he's doing that. He didn't do that the last couple weeks.
No, you're right. And the Bills have done, a little different philosophy from an offensive standpoint. Something I noticed last week is they're calling a lot of 0 one-step drops. You see this one, he's got a couple, steps there, and he does look to his right. And you're right. The footwork's really good, and it's in rhythm. I mean, he's hitting the top, and then he's moving his feet, getting his base right. And like I said, I think just recognizing the coverage has so much to do with how well his footwork ends up being on this play. And it's a play that, it looks just like a simple, pitch and catch, but it's one that fans should, cling to. And it shows them that he's reading coverages. He's not just throwing to a first read, and he's making the proper adjustments with his feet and his mechanics halfway through this season.
Yeah, and Mitch Morse looking for someone to block there. They had a lot of time on this play because, like you pointed out, only 3 guys. I mean, if at first John Feliciano's like, who do I block? And he goes to double team, and then Mitch Morse is like, all right, who do I block? So they did a good job there of giving them protection, only a 3-man rush, obviously.
All right, Sal, Bills are still up 17-9. We're in the fourth quarter now, 1st and 10 situation. And one thing I noticed in this game was, although that Allen didn't throw the ball down the field all too often, there were shot calls on first down. Of course, coordinators want to take those shots down the field on first down because the defense usually likes to stack the box, usually play some type of cover 3 or cover 1 single high set. And the Bills tried taking advantage of that, but this is a play where basically Allen has 2 options here. I'm not sure if Cole Beasley in the slot was meant to block and then go out for a route, but in the end, it ends up being a 2-man route. And you're going to see John Brown push the vertical route down the field. And because the safety that rotates over the top here bails deep, you're going to see John Brown flatten this route. So instead of actually going to the corner here on typically a 3-level passing concept, he flattens it out and heads towards the boundary. And you'll see him come open, which is it's great. And you're going to see this corner right here. He's trying to bail to get to that deep area too. But Josh Allen already moves on past Brown and ends up getting it to Singletary. And I think he does that because he's realizing, hey, I'm running out of time. I'm running out of real estate. Let's just get it down to Singletary, obviously a playmaker now, to get him the ball and see if he can do something with it. He only gets 3 yards, but I think it was one of those plays that you're going to look at from 30,000 miles above the film here and say, he missed John Brown. But I want to get your thoughts on this. Do you think he missed him, or you think he just moved on in that progression already?
Well, I think he moved on. I think he could have waited an extra moment, but he's being coached, he's being taught to make sure he takes what's given to him. And at that moment, he's looking downfield. He sees that, Brown isn't in a advantageous spot. And then by the time he decides to go to Singletary, it's a little bit too late. There's actually 3 options on this play, I would say. Number 1 option is John Brown. He's looking. Brown is not looking at him. He doesn't know when he's going to break off the route. Number 2 option is Singletary because he comes down to him. Number 3 option would be to run the ball. He could decide to run if he wants. And that's why you get him out. But I agree with you. Like, at this point, now, wait, if we run it through and let's see, keep going. And I would say now he might say, I got him. But look, he's already onto him. He's already cocked his arm. He's ready to throw the ball. If John Brown breaks that off earlier, maybe, here's the other argument I make. If you want to put this on Josh in any way, maybe he gets the boot a little bit deeper. You know what I mean? Maybe he goes out a little bit deeper instead of coming flat, and then that gives him time to let John Brown's route develop. See, Josh goes right away. Josh, he's at 15-yard line, boom, he comes flat. If Josh maybe gets back to about the 10-yard line there before he wheels his own head around, maybe that gets him to John Brown at the right time. So I think maybe you could say both things there, but look, I mean, this is what he's being coached to do and what everybody wants him to do, which is take easy money. This was easy money. It would have been nice to see John Brown. Maybe Josh could have run that out a little bit more and not be as flat and gotten out there and had a little more patience, because I'll tell you, what I loved about this, first thing I watched here, if you go back to the very beginning, Erik, great job by the O-line to sell this. I mean, everybody steps left in unison. Boom. Look at that. It's amazing. They did a great job. And I mean, there go the defensive line, the linebackers, everybody's flowing to the ball where they think the ball is. And now you get exactly what you want on the backside. So again, see where Josh is. Maybe if I have a criticism on Josh in this play, it might be that he might want to get a little bit deeper there before he wheels his head and his hips around.
Yeah, and I will say the great point about the flow of the play. Obviously, that they have to respect McKenzie on that jet action, and that little fake, and it splits the defense in half. Obviously, gives Josh Allen a good view of the defense. But typically on these speed play action runs, it is usually a flatter arc
Yep.
on the rollout. So I'm not sure what depth he's supposed to be getting to, but I imagine this is probably right where it needs to be, because it's not meant to be a one that typically is going to hit down the field. Typically, this ball is going to the running back here. It's kind of like that, spider 2Y banana that you hear John Gruden talk about a lot. It's more of a quick hitter here,
Yep.
high-low concept. So you do see, Brown does come open, and he does flatten that route. But I also I love your point about the third option being the run, because watch Josh Allen right after he decides to not throw it to Brown. There's a little pump fake right there. And what that does is it freezes Fabian Moreau here. And Fabian Moreau is actually supposed to be probably this flats defender with this corner dropping back deep. So that little pump fake did hold that defender, and probably another reason maybe why he didn't run the ball here. But again, it came to head right here. He has to make a decision right here. Am I going to run it, or am I going to throw it to Singletary? He already moved past Brown. In the end, he takes what the defense gave him. And it's not a bad choice, because when he goes to start his delivery, you see back of this defender not even looking at him. Moreau is not even anywhere near Singletary. So it's not a bad decision. And I do think it's one of those things that, as you said, the staff wants him to take what the defense gives him. He does here. And unfortunately, it's only a 3-yard game, but it is also a play where Josh Allen didn't turn over or take a big hit on a run.
Yeah, and it's never a bad idea to give the ball to Devin Singletary in a little bit of space, right?
No, totally. It's something that I think we're going to see a little more of as the season progresses. All right, so we're in the fourth quarter, 5:55 on the clock. Bills are up 17-9. It's 1st and 10, ball on the 46-yard line. And the Bills come out in a formation and really a set that they use a lot all day, right? They 3-by-1 set, condensed, and they're going to use McKenzie to come across the formation in that jet action that you asked some great questions in the presser there yesterday. And I really liked, the direction that you talked about. I'm going to let you talk about this formation. It's a play action pass, nice deep drop by Josh Allen. Hits the top of his drop. And with that cover 3 defense, you see all 3 of the defenders back here all getting to their deep thirds. And because it's play action, that whole second level is biting and holding. And so that creates that gap right here between the second level and third level. And that gives Josh Allen a lot of space to operate. That gives John Brown the ability to hook the route up here. Top of the drop, Josh Allen hits it, hitches up in the pocket, and delivers a really nice throw. So talk about the formation, this play call, what the jet action does to this defense overall from this game.
Yeah, this is really nice because they keep everything tight. I mean, everybody is basically within about 7 yards of each other. I mean, from receiver to receiver, right? You look at top of the screen to bottom of the screen, they're really tight, even though they have a wide out on each side. And then they move the jet motion. And what Brian Daboll talked about was, he said, eye candy. It gets guys to have to recognize that. They have to look at that. They have to respect it. It can ID the coverage as well. You notice no one's flowing with them, right? So they are in zone. They're in a 3 deep, like you said. But here's the thing. So look at the bottom of the screen here on the formation. The linebacker now, he has to respect Devin Singletary, and he's pretty much got the back coming out of the backfield, because there is a tight end. If you go back, Erik, to the line, the actual alignment on the formation,
yes,
there is a tight end back there. His lineup is an H-back. So he's kind of got to read the running back through the H-back. The H-back goes left, right? That's Knox, I guess. No, it would be Croft.
Yep.
So once he sees that, now his eyes got to go to the running back. Well, that leaves John Brown to get behind him. And because you're in such a tight formation, there's nobody covering from the hash to the sideline, essentially, on that curl to flat, because that's the linebacker who has to respect the back coming out of the backfield. So John Brown has a ton of room. And of course, because it is 3 deep, you're getting soft coverage on the back end from Josh Norman, who basically lined up across from John Brown all day anyway. So I think the formation made this play because they just gave themselves a whole lot of room from basically where the hash mark is to the sideline.
Yeah, that's a great point, because when I remember Daboll also mentioning that you saw a lot of that jet action when most of the receivers were the smaller, faster receivers. So you got Foster to the top of the screen, you have John Brown, you have McKenzie, and it's something that Daboll likes to do when he wants to stretch a defense horizontally. he condenses the formation, uses those speedsters to expand the defense, as you see here. And great point about the play action and the read of this force defender. Why is that important? Because all game, Singletary had been eating them up on split zone with that tight end coming across the formation. So as you said, it looks very similar to that. And you see the play action fake, and that force defender has to hold. He has to hold versus this look. By the time Josh hits the top of his drop, there's just so much space for them to operate. But now these second level defenders are totally out of position. You know, they're totally out of position. And that just opens up so many windows for Josh Allen. And you'll see it better from the tight camera angle because I just like his rhythm on these throws. He didn't pass a lot, but the passes that he did have, his mechanics were really good. His rhythm was really good. He understood the game plan and where the ball needed to go on these specific situations that he wanted to throw. You see, he gets a nice deep drop. Nseki's edge rusher right there. He does kind of get a soft edge there, but Josh Allen just hitches up in the pocket, buys a little more time, and he's rifling the pass through that window. There's no way any of these zone defenders can make a play on this ball.
Yeah, and I like the footwork once again. We've been talking about that a lot. I just think his footwork was some of the best I've seen all year in this particular game. How he gets to where he needs to. Watch, sets up, steps up now into the pocket to make sure that he can reset his feet, turn his shoulders, stays balanced on platform, throws it where he needs to. You know what's funny? I'm watching this play. I wonder if we go all the way back to the first angle and the first look. I wonder if they go back to this formation now in a future game, and they just run a simple arrow route to the right. I mean, look at all that room they have. Yeah. Right? If they're going to get this look, maybe John Brown just runs an arrow route down towards the sidelines, and you can basically just throw it over his shoulder, looking back at Josh Allen. I wonder if they go back to that at some point with this formation.
And that's actually a great point because typically on these, three-man routes here versus off play action versus single high sets like cover three here, a lot of times the receivers on the outside are reading the coverage and they can adjust their route. So if the leverage was different, and typically the Redskins, what showed up on film is when the Bills or other teams were in these condensed sets, and the coverage and the defenders were off this far, that's one of those indicators that it is cover three. So they're in off coverage. Now, if that defender was closer to the line of scrimmage playing with maybe an outside leverage, you're going to see possibly a different route from John Brown. So that's a great point because those routes can adjust. And I think that's why John Brown always talks about this offense being one of the most difficult that he's had to learn because there are so many options on a given route, on a given play, depending on what coverage these receivers see. So great point about that. I'm sure there are other things that the offense and Brian Daboll is going to build off of this play action game. And I think, as I mentioned earlier, as the weather deteriorates and the Bills, in my opinion, start to lean on the run a little more, and maybe even throwing Singletary more touches, even more as the season goes on, I think you're going to see a lot of different things being stacked upon these things that are successful. And this was one of those plays, deep play action drop, where that John Brown, his favorite target, can obviously make some changes in his route concept based on the leverage of the corners. All right, Sal, fourth quarter, still 4:46 on the clock. Bills face a 2nd and 8 call. It's on the ball's on the 27-yard line. Bills are still up 17-9. It's a 3-by-1 set, and you're going to see Josh Allen change of protection here. And if you listen to the broadcast copy, you're going to hear him change of protection. He changed it to 65 protection. That's a 60 series protection, which means that there is going to be 6 blockers. So you got the 5 offensive linemen and the running back inserting into protection. I think that actually causes right tackle Ty Nsekhe to blow the protection here because 60 protection is a scan protection. So he is usually scanning inside out, as you had kind of mentioned earlier with the running backs. And what happens here is Nsekhe goes for Collins to the bottom of the screen. He's going to kick out towards Collins when really he should have Sweat right here because he obviously has Singletary inserting into the protection. Well, he blows the protection. Sweat gets a pressure on Josh Allen as Allen he's looking all the way to his left. I mean, this is crazy awareness in the pocket and sense in the pocket because Allen breaks the pocket somehow, breaks the tackle, keeps his balance, and John Brown from the top of the screen running a dagger concept, a deep dig all the way across the field as Allen breaks the pocket here. Somehow Allen gets the ball off, has enough velocity on the throw to hit John Brown, but Brown drops it. So talk about maybe the concept and, Josh Allen working his magic inside the pocket here, right, Sal?
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. And again, it goes back to he had good footwork this game. This footwork comes into play here. He has to keep those feet moving in order to do what he did. You're right. A little bit of blown protection here. Remember I talked about inside out pass protection. He didn't look inside. He allowed a guy he opened the gate there basically, and Sweat came in, and Josh saw that. That's really good feel, by the way, by Josh Allen. He's seeing it, but he's also feeling the pressure right here. If you watch, he's not even looking, but he's got to feel the pressure here. Inseki needs to step inside. He doesn't.
Yeah.
A little bit of a mix up there. Sweat takes advantage of that. I love Sweat coming out of the draft, by the way. He's long. He's athletic.
I do too.
And he sees, now watch, Josh isn't even looking at him. This is all feel by Josh Allen. And he has to basically make a decision right now. Boom, where do I go with this? He steps up underneath the pass rush to begin with. And then after taking like a pinball, bouncing off a guy, comes out the other side. I mean, it's just athleticism. Most quarterbacks can't do what he just did right there. So now he keeps the play alive. How about this? Go right back, Erik, if you can. As soon as he comes out and he keeps his balance, look at his head. His eyes and his head go right back upfield. He's down. He's got his head kind of looking at the turf to keep his balance, and now his head and his eyes go right back upfield, which I love. He's looking to make a play here. He can run, but he's being chased pretty good, and he's finding now John Brown, who, by the way, keeps the play alive himself. Off balance a little bit, throws, maybe a little bit out of his reach, but man, looked like John Brown maybe could have had that one. Not going to ding John Brown that much. He makes lots of catches for this team. He's their number one receiver. He's doing a great job. Maybe a little bit out of his reach. That's a tough throw. Josh is on the run. He's looking. John Brown is speeding across the middle. I just love the athleticism, but more than anything, the fact, if you can rewind that again and go back to when he first escapes the pocket, and more than anything, the way that Josh gets from, here it is, right here. Watch his head. So now he's looking. He's going to try to escape the pocket, and once he does, watch how his eyes go right upfield once he basically escapes out of here. Boom, right there. He's looking to make a throw. He's looking to make a play, and I love that part about it.
Yeah, it's a great play because, and it's something that's not talked about with quarterbacks all that often, is breaking tackles in the pocket. And Josh Allen was top 5 in that last year. And, you know, it's something obviously with a guy that big and that mobile and that strong, that works to his advantage. And right here, if he's not who he is, if he's not doing Josh Allen things here, this is a sack, and the Bills are in third and super long, right? It's a play that he broke a tackle in the pocket, and he's making plays eyes up. And he's running full speed as he's throwing this, and he's somehow able to get enough torque and velocity on this throw. And it does come in hot, maybe a little out ahead of John Brown, but I mean, I think it's a good play all around. From even though John Brown dropped it, as you said, he kept the play alive. He was the receiver to the top of the screen, coming all the way across the field, being QB friendly, getting open, separating on the crossing route. And it's one of those things that when Josh Allen's in trouble, regardless of the coverage, John Brown is a guy he's going to look to. As you mentioned, he's their number one wide receiver, and he's a guy that typically catches these, and he converts first downs at an incredible rate for Josh Allen. So he's been a really good safety blanket for the quarterback.
Yeah, and there's actually, I think is that Dawson Knox down there? He's blocking. Dawson Knox is actually blocking because he doesn't know what's happening behind him, and he thinks Josh is running. Yeah. He thinks it's turned into a run play. So he's stalk blocking now is what he's doing.
Yeah, that's definitely what's happening there. And that's, I mean, it's also a good look for him because he's obviously not totally engaged in blocking down the field to almost get a pass interference penalty there. But I mean, he's also in a position where he's processing, if Josh Allen's going to run this, you know, I'm going to be in a position to wall off this linebacker here. But good play from top to bottom. It's just one of those plays that Josh Allen was magical, but it just didn't work out in the end.
No, that's right. And I love the athleticism and the eyes right there. Great awareness.
All right, Sal, fourth quarter, 4:08 on the clock, third and long, super long, 3rd and 18. Bills are up 17-9. Not many plays in the playbook here to convert a third down, but this is a play that Josh Allen extends a play and hits John Brown in the honey hole to the bottom of the screen as the Redskins drop into a Tampa 2 coverage. I like what the Redskins did here. They rotate really nicely to the back end of this coverage. And it's a play that you see there's not much creativity to it because there aren't many play calls for this. But I think it's one of those plays, well, if the defense is in man coverage, it's going to run guys off the top. It's going to, you know, open up a little bit. Maybe Josh Allen can scramble around and keep us in field goal range. I think that's part of Daboll's thinking here. But it's a play that the Redskins only rush 4 defenders, but they kind of collapse the middle, almost forcing Josh Allen outside. And so he escapes the pocket, and as he escapes the pocket, well, obviously he's a threat as a runner, and all eyes are on him now, and specifically Josh Norman. has eyes not only on Josh Allen, but Singletary kind of leaking out there too. And that leaves John Brown open along the sideline. Josh Allen gets his feet right, starts moving downhill on the run, and throws a strike to John Brown. So what are your thoughts on this play, Sal?
Yeah, first thing I notice is go back to the protection. It's so funny. It reminds me of kind of a movie. Hold the wall, hold the wall. Like these guys are all, once they get going here, you see all these defenders. And right there, look at that. That's hilarious, right?
I don't understand, honestly. Why would they do that?
It's unbelievable. Like there's nobody around. Everybody's condensed in like a 3-yard space, and that's incredible right there. So look, again, footwork, eyes. I think Josh, very good game for him in both departments. He kept his feet moving. He kept his eyes upfield, and then he saw John Brown, who called for it. But this is the product of having a guy like Josh Allen, who's very good at running the football. He's very athletic. Josh Norman gets in a bind here. What does he do? If he stays back on John Brown, Josh Allen runs probably for at least 10 yards, and now they're in field goal range or even a situation where they can go for it. But he's one-on-one then with Josh Allen. He's looking. Josh Allen has a lot of room right here. He could have taken off, but he did a great job to look upfield. My sense is right here, his eyes, they're not on John Brown. They're on Josh Norman. He's looking to what Josh Norman's going to do. And the minute Josh Norman starts to creep up because he sees him leaving the pocket, he says, I'm throwing it over the top of him to John Brown.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's, again, the mobility by Allen is a threat here. And I honestly don't know what Greg Minuski was thinking here with this kind of rush. Again, maybe it was intentional. They wanted Josh Allen to leave the pocket, but right. I don't understand why you would do that in 3rd and long, because if you make him stay in the pocket and play within structure, there's a good chance he's not going to complete this, because the only reason he does make a play here is because he gets outside of the pocket. And so I don't understand that play call. It's quite deliberate. So this was intended. You see everybody, especially this right defensive end, is out wide in a wide 9, and he's hitting a B gap here. I don't know why you force Josh Allen out of structure here, because that is when his mobility and his big arm obviously can make a play here. Good eye discipline. He is not looking right at John Brown. He knows as he's rolling right and he breaks the pocket. I think he has a good idea that what coverage the Redskins are in. And now he's just got to, as you said, get Norman's attention. And he does that by kind of peeking inside here. And I think Norman also was thinking not just that Josh Allen is going to creep out and try to rush the ball here, but that maybe Singletary is going to go into the flats here, which Norman is responsible for. I think that is one other possibility. But in the end, it's Josh Allen getting downhill. That's one thing we talk about when quarterbacks are throwing on the run. You don't want them really fading away. Yes, Josh Allen can get away with that sometimes, fading away to his right or even back just a little bit and throwing the ball and getting it there with the velocity needed. But this is when you have the ability to either set your feet or get downhill towards your target, that helps the velocity and obviously the accuracy. And John Brown does a good job of, I mean, this ball has some heat on it. So he's catching it at the high point. He's snagging it out of the air here. And it's just a really good job. Good boundary awareness by John Brown. And obviously converting on 3rd and 18, which is not something you want to be in a lot of the time. But when you have Josh Allen and you can play outside of structure like that, I mean, this was just a gimme for Josh Allen. Of course he's going to leave the pocket right here, Sal.
Yeah, of course. And he did a great job of understanding where he was on the field. There's nothing to throw to here in the middle of the field. He's looking, by the way, he looks left to start the play.
Yeah.
And then he goes right. But I think, again, this is the product of you're coached all week as a defender. Hey, big athletic quarterback who can run. He gets out of the pocket. You got to come up and make a play on him. You got to force him to, because Josh will take as many yards as he can. We know that, right?
Yeah.
Josh Norman does that. He comes up. Josh Norman's doing what he's coached to do here. But Josh Allen says, okay, if you're going to do that, I'm going to go over top of you. And John Brown did a great job of making himself available.
All right, so that was a great film breakdown. There's some good stuff that we talked about. Obviously, I thought Josh Allen's mechanics were on point for most of the game, but one of the strategies going in was obviously get Singletary the ball in the run and pass game, but also play action. The Bills ran play action the second most for Week 9 at 34.8%. And I think that's something that Nate and I always talk about, is something that was huge the tail end of last year, the second half of last year after Allen returned from his injury. So it was something that was prevalent in this game, and it's great because it keeps the defense off balance, right? Because the running game was obviously going with Singletary. And you saw what those play-action fakes did to the second-level and third-level defenders. So Talk about the play action percentage, and because for the year they're in the 21%, 22% range. Is that something you want to see more of, and why when it comes to Josh Allen?
Yeah, I mean, like, look, the play action, it's got to be set up, first of all, as you pointed out, by a very good run game. They did it. They committed to the run game here. Last week, I think they wanted to against Philly. The game got a little out of hand. They couldn't do that. I'd like to see a little bit more completion. What I'd like to see more than anything is the yards per attempt up on play action.
Sure.
Josh was only at like 5. For the game, it was good. He was actually better than that when not play action. I'd like to see that. Maybe use play action to set up maybe a deep shot or two here if they can. And if those are there, that's fine. Maybe they're calling them, and as we pointed out a little bit, he's just not taking them, or something happens where it doesn't allow him to. But the yards per attempt on play action, 6.7. You look around, I'd like to see that creep up a little bit higher. He's doing a good job on it. But it seems like to me it's play action and then check it down maybe, right? But maybe those will start to open up. And look, the team they're playing this week, they are not very good against the run. The Cleveland Browns, they're 30th in the NFL in yards per game allowed, 29th in yards per play. The Bills need to establish that. They need to get that going a little bit, and then that play action will be there. And like I said, I would like to see, as this season goes on, Erik, taking a few more deep shots after play action.
Yeah, totally. And we're looking at Josh Allen's play action percentage and completion percentage and yards per attempt difference for 2019 right now. And as Sal alluded to, 3.5% plus 3.5% incompletion difference when play action is used versus not used is kind of low. And as you said, the yards per attempt is actually in the negative. It's barely in the negative, but that's something that, as we talked about, you see when play action is right and that run game is going, you see the gap in between the second and third level defenders for those speedsters on the outside. So the more touches they get, Singletary and even Gore, just the run frequency, getting that run game going. I don't believe you necessarily need that to get good play action going, but it does help create a bigger gap between those second and third level defenders, as we saw in this film breakdown. So I do think that more of a commitment to the run, maybe not passing as often, having a little more balance, especially as the weather deteriorates, I think that'll help maybe, some of the difference in yards per attempt go up a little bit. So with that said, let's go ahead and wrap up with looking at Josh Allen's adjusted completion percentage. Is something Nate and I look at every week just to kind of get an update on where Josh Allen is at. And he slipped a little bit this week. Right now, he's currently sitting at 21st at 74.3% accuracy percentage. And that's among quarterbacks with 25% of the dropbacks. So is this an area that Josh Allen can live in and this offense and team continue to win? Or do they need to do some more things to give him some more high percentage passes versus those deep shots that you talked about? It's a delicate balance when you have a quarterback that has turned it over like Josh Allen has, right? So it's a delicate balance for this offensive staff and getting him some efficient passes in that short to intermediate area, which he's been great at, but also pushing the ball down the field to kind of get them to respect his big arm, right, Sal?
Yeah, and look, I think you can live there if you have the defense they have. I mean, that's what it comes down to. It's sooner or later, whether it's next year or the year after, I think, you look at this defense, most of them are young, they're locked up. So I think you can feel good about where the defense is for the next couple of years. But at some point, Josh Allen may have to become the, hey, we got to win this way guy, instead of we're going to win with defense. And you don't have to be a superhero. He's done that at times in the fourth quarter, but this is the formula for them to win right now. They play really good defense. They're basically, Josh Allen is a game manager right now. And I know people hate hearing that, but there's no reason not to have him a game manager. The object's to win the game. The Bills know who they are. They have a very good defense. And as long as Josh Allen doesn't make mistakes, which, oh, by the way, Erik, 89 straight passes without an interception now.
I love your point about that. Okay, so he's playing more of a game manager role. Should fans be worried about that stunning his development going forward this year and next year?
No, I don't think so at all. I mean, it's all part of the package. There's going to be times in his whole career where he's going to be asked to be more of a game manager. There's going to be times where he's going to be asked to do more. At this particular point, he's not being asked to do more. And the more he sees, the more that he keeps completing passes of all different varieties and managing the game in all different ways, clock management, cadence, all that stuff matters. So he doesn't have to be asked to do more right now. And again, I know everybody wants to see it. I'll be the first to tell you, they drafted a guy 7th overall not to be a game manager. They drafted a guy 7 overall not to babysit him. But look, the object of football is to win the game at the end of the day, be on the right end of the scoreboard. And the Bills, the way they're constructed, the way this coaching staff thinks is simply this: how do I get today to win the game? It's not about looking good. It's not about how do I get my quarterback to be who he's supposed to be in 3 years from now. It's how do I beat the Washington Redskins today? Whether that's by 10 points or 1 point or 30 points. How do I beat the Cleveland Browns today? They're going to design a game plan to do that. And within that structure, they know that starts with their defense. That's what it is. And that's who they are. And that's what Bills fans should like about this team, which is they're going to do what it takes on a weekly basis to win a football game.
That's a great point. We always talk about progression isn't linear. Every week it's going to be different based on game plan. Some game plans, as you saw early in the season, Dable was pass happy and he was running that no huddle in that week 1 and he was doing a lot of things with tempo. And you saw that with Josh Allen. But what ended up happening is Josh Allen started turning the ball over. So guess what? They had to bring the reins back a little bit and make him into more of that game manager role. But what ended up happening is he started protecting the ball more, able to get some wins under their belt. And yes, I mean, even the last couple of weeks, they are a defensive team, but even the defense has had some struggles. And there were times where the offense had to make the most of their opportunities, especially in the red zone. They're one of the top red zone teams. So each week there's going to be a different game plan. Each week you're going to see something different from Josh Allen from a game plan standpoint, going from maybe an heavy empty set formation game plan, and Josh Allen's making those quick passes or pushing the balls down the field, down the seam. And maybe the next week he's handing it off a lot and just running a lot of play action, as we kind of saw last week, especially when you consider the last 2 games, the weather, the wind, and some of the factors that they're dealing with there. So fans just need to realize progression isn't linear, and this is not going to stunt his development. If anything, it's just going to add a different facet to his game. Right. And as you said, throwing different types of balls, throwing maybe with a little more touch in some weeks, throwing with a little more velocity on the run. And like we saw last week, there are going to be different situations that are going to arise on a week-to-week basis, but it's not going to stunt his development. This staff obviously wants to develop this guy, and that's why they're doing it in small increments. And as long as he continues to progress and build upon each week, and when he does have a bad week in a certain area, whether it be turnovers or missing throws or missing reads, which is going to happen with a second-year quarterback, he just needs to bounce back from that. And I think that's one thing, if there's anything that Josh Allen has showed, it's his ability to bounce back and kind of brush things off and move on to the next play. So that's something fans should cling to, right, Sal?
No doubt about it. I think about the other quarterbacks from the 2018 draft class, Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold. Things aren't going well for them right now. And I think they're being asked to do things that maybe they're not quite ready for, or things are being thrust upon them. Look, I make the point all the time. You know this better than anybody, Erik. Like, defensive coordinators get paid a lot of money to study how to stop guys, right? And we've had a whole offseason of film for them to look at on Baker and on Sam and on Josh. And, maybe in those situations, because we know they don't have the same defense the Bills do. Sure. So they're asking them, their coaches are asking them to do things that are putting them in positions where, quite frankly, they're not maybe ready for. And I think we should be thankful here in Buffalo that they don't have to do that for Josh Allen right now. They have a good enough defense where they can lean on that, rely on that, and ask him to do certain things to help win the game. And when that time comes, we'll see if he's up to the challenge to win games when it goes the other way.
No, I totally agree with you there, Sal. With that said, let's wrap up this film session. I appreciate you coming on, first of all, Sal, and filling in for Nate. It's a good time, and I hope to do this again in the future. But what do you have going on at WGR this week, and where can everyone find you on social media?
Yeah, at Sal Sports. I'll be covering the team this week. Wednesday is what we call Media Day down there, so we'll get a lot of talk from the Bills head coach, Sean McDermott, obviously. We'll get Josh Allen. We'll get to players in the locker room. We'll get their thoughts on the Cleveland Browns. It's on to the Browns. Interesting connection. People need to be aware that Steve Wilks was Sean McDermott's defensive backs coach when McDermott was the defensive coordinator for the Carolina Panthers. Now he's the defensive coordinator for the Cleveland Browns. So there's some familiarity there between both. Obviously Steve's going to help out Freddie Kitchens and, tell him what Sean likes to do, but Sean's going to understand what Steve likes to do. So I like that facet of it, and we'll see what happens. Look, right now, to me, the Browns are a bit of a mess, and it starts with, their head coach not being really ready for the job. I like Freddie Kitchens. I think he has respect. He's a smart guy. I don't think he's quite up to the task of being a head coach. It was thrown at him pretty quickly. Let's hope it stays a mess for another week for the Bills' sake, and we'll see what they can do. And it's not going to be a pretty weather day as far as I'm looking again right now. So keep the ball on the ground. Use the formula you've been using, and we'll see what happens. And I'll be on. And by the way, Nate's on the morning show this morning. I'll be on the morning show the next 3 mornings.
Nice.
For Howard with Jeremy on WGR.
Thanks again, Sal. This has been fun. This is Erik Turner signing off from Cover One, the film room.